Hi, welcome to the Dan Bradbury podcast, where turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. In this podcast, I'll bring you resources, tips, interviews, and lots more to help to grow your business and make it less dependent on you.
Hi, welcome to the Dan Bradbury podcast. I'm Topher Morrison, sitting in as guest host for Dan. He cannot be here right now. I've been told that he has left me and all of his friends behind. When asked why, he was quoted as saying, "If your friends don't dance and if they can't dance, well, then they're no friends of mine." I'm sorry, I'm being told that was men at work, not to be confused with Dan, who is a man at work, preparing for the Ultimate Entrepreneur Competition coming up June 21st and 22nd of 2022. And I'm going to be guest hosting his next few podcasts to make sure that he has time to prepare, and I get the honor of interviewing all of the contestants for said competition. Our first competitor and guest of the show is Lisa Gatto. She is the founder of the Business Catalyst. You can find out more about her at thebusinesscatalyst.co.uk. She's coming up for her second round of this competition. She was a finalist last year, and she's coming back with a vengeance, ready to go. I sat down with her previously and interviewed her and found a little bit more about her business and how COVID has helped her to create a whole new niche that existed all along in her database. But until COVID came, she didn't feel or wasn't called to identify what that niche was, and just see how she has crushed it since then. So without further ado, please let's welcome to the show Lisa Gatto from the Business Catalyst. Lisa, welcome to the Dan Bradbury podcast, Ultimate Entrepreneur Edition. It is great to see you, but not just see you, but to say see you again, because you were a finalist in last year's competition. You're coming back for more. You're primed, you're prepped, you're ready to go. Are you excited for the competition? Rather obvious question.
I am excited for the sequel, for part two, to show everybody what's been going on.
Lisa Gatto coming back with a vengeance. Now, let me ask you this. So you were a finalist last year. Have you been able to parlay that into any kind of marketing or branding for yourself for this past year?
Absolutely. I used every single piece of marketing collateral, always thinking every single piece of marketing collateral that I can get my hands on and leverage it in every which way I can. It's really interesting, actually, because a lot of British people feel that showing off, that embracing your successes can be a little distasteful at times. And I don't subscribe to that. I think if you can't celebrate your successes, then you're not moving forward, quite frankly.
Yeah, I always say my mom's not in my company. If she were here, she'd brag about me, but she's not, so I'm going to have to do it myself, kind of thing. So I think you should absolutely promote yourself. What have you competed in any other competitions over this past year?
I haven't been in any competitions, but I have been given, I had about 5 awards over the last year for being part of a partner community of automation experts, for being top international service partner for automation, and for my business growth and successes as an entrepreneur.
Well, okay, we should probably talk about what it is that you do as well, not just the competition. So you are a customer automation specialist. Would that be the right terminology, or would you have a better one for it?
Yeah, we design and build automated customer journeys. We walk clients through all shapes and sizes, from people doing up north of $300,000 revenue. Our largest client does $50 million revenue. And we take a walk through their business as if they're a client, to have a look at where the gaps are, where the opportunities are, where they can increase efficiencies, improve their cash, their sales processes, their delivery, that kind of thing, so that their staff are released up to really work on the higher value tasks. And meanwhile, the automation is delivering the data and the efficiency so they can scale their business to next level.
Let's dig a little bit deep on that one, because this podcast is for business owners, and I don't want it to just be simply a promotion about the ultimate entrepreneur, which obviously we want to talk about. We want to get people excited for. We want them to come and watch the competition or compete in it as well. But more importantly, there's going to be people who have no ability to get there, and I want to make sure that they're getting some value out of this. What would you say are the biggest challenges that companies face when they're looking at their customer journey and it doesn't necessarily have to be related to automation, because the automation might be the solution to that. But what are those challenges that people deal with? And then part two to that would obviously be something like, how do you help solve that problem or automate that to where it's no longer burdensome for them?
Well, the initial problem that people and companies face is that they don't know what the problem is. So they know that they've hit a plateau, or they know that they're stuck, or they know that they're busy with the wrong things, but they don't know what to do about it. It's fairly unique in some
Let me ask
ways.
you this, Lisa. Real quick, do you think that people confuse then? Could I articulate that as saying then that one of their challenges is that they confuse activity with efficiency, or activity with productivity, because they're going, we have customers, life is grand. And so they think there's no problem here, but they haven't taken time to dig deep and look at, but what is that journey for that customer like? It might be great on the business end because you have business coming in. What's it like on the
100%.
client side when yeah.
They're busy shoving more clients in the top of the funnel, making it a numbers game and seeing, how many come out the other end, without looking to see how they can create the most friction-free journey possible for each person on each route. And the customer journey doesn't just apply to the customers passing through it, but it's also about the staff, the team, the colleagues, everybody that's involved in it. And how they're interacting with the customer's journey as well, so that the experience by everybody is as top-notch as it can possibly be.
You know what? You nailed it on the head there. I was just speaking with a client of mine yesterday, and they were talking about, she's the CEO of a financial services company. It's a relatively small boutique firm. I think they got maybe 15, 20 employees. Like overnight, anytime you have a small business like that and you have people that go on to bigger and better things, it hurts the company, right? Losing one person out of a 20-person company is the equivalent of Google laying off 10,000 people, right? It makes a difference. And so what happened was she lost two clients, or not clients, she lost two employees almost overnight, because they found opportunities, and one wanted to go back and get their degree. And these two people were pivotal in the administrative role. And all of a sudden, overnight, she lost a ton of her administrative process. And she didn't want to do this, but she kind of had to get back into the weeds a little bit because there was nobody to do what she did. And her partner made this commitment that for 2 weeks, they would get down in the weeds. They would start learning this administrative process so they could train their replacements that came in. And here's what she discovered. She found out that from the sales side of the business, they were making promises that created frustrations and displeasure for the other employees down the value chain, and they hadn't been aware of that. And when they started getting back into that, they realized that. So I think it's important that you point out that it's the customer automation is not just about making it enjoyable for the customer. It's also about making sure that you identify where are those gaps in service or frustrations in the deliverables that the company faces as well. I wanted to ask you something else as well. You touched on something there. You were talking about your customer base and creating these automations to help the business work. How have you guys used your own technology in your own business to make sure that when somebody, it's almost, I feel like I'm in an Inception movie here, right? So when a customer signs on for customer
You're just drilling down there, Topher.
how are they utilizing it in your business?
Well, I mean, the two things that you just have come across there are really important. One is points of failure, which is recognizing in a business if there's a particular role or person that holds so much information or responsibility that if they were to disappear or leave the company, that it massively impacts the running of the company. The owners have now got to stop for 2 weeks to drill down, as opposed to having the other thing I was going to mention, which is the standard operating procedures, which is this is the way we do things. So we do a lot of that with our clients as well, which is as we're building the automations, is that we're shaping, this is how it works, this is how it runs, and this is how it should be done. In order that if they're bringing in new people, we do a lot with membership sites, which we use for staff induction and staff training, to be able to have that knowledge available for onboarding new staff and for keeping continuously updated. So the points of failure and the operating procedures.
This is one of my biggest frustrations with my clients. So I'm going to share this with you because I am huge on SOPs. I have an online software system that I use. I didn't develop it. I just bought an off-the-shelf one. It works great for me. And I've seen the value that it's done in my business to help automate things. Like now when my staff ask me questions, I don't have to answer them. I just say, that's in Trainual, which is the software that I use. And it just saves me so much time. And I'm really, encouraging my clients to get in and develop their SOPs. Number one objection: I don't have time to develop SOPs. And so it's like, well, there's the answer in it as well. But how do you get people, your clientele, from we know we need SOPs, but we don't have time to develop the SOPs? How do you get them from that point of acknowledgement to that point of action to where they actually finally start doing it? Because it's not like you guys can do it for them 100% full stop. You still have to get input from them to understand what those SOPs are. So how do you make that bridge, or how do you transition them from, yeah, I know it's a problem, but I don't have time to deal with it, to, yep, it's a problem and we're going to deal with it now?
Well, what's the pain of not doing it? What happens when somebody leaves the company and you've got to stop what you're doing, the higher value task, to spend 2 weeks working out what it is that they were doing? So what is the cost of not doing
Is that enough? Like, is that enough to just highlight that pain for them? Does that work? Like, does that let them go, yeah, I get it? Because what I find is that a lot of times they're just they're numb to that. They're just, yeah, I know it's a pain in the ass. I'll do it next time. I'm like, no, you don't do it next time. You do it right now. And by the way, this CEO finally got to that point where she realized that she was in that pain. Yeah.
Well, exactly. She got to the point where she was in the pain. But what we try and do is we try and instigate a culture within the company where everybody sees the benefit of it. So we actually encourage the staff to write up their own SOPs so that they have ownership of it, they understand it, and they're able to teach it to other people with the framework that we can give them to do that with. And from then, it's not just all of the onus is on one person, it's the whole company coming together, and it's just the way things are done. And it depends on where a business is at. You're dealing with someone that is a lower level, $200,000-$300,000 a year is very different from a company that is doing high 6, 7 or 8 figure revenues. So it's a very different mindset, and you're dealing with very different people and very different types of teams in that. So it's really a case by case scenario. And when we're building the automations to underpin and support those processes, we're writing the process documents and then we're training them into it. And whether it's Trainual or whether it's Air Manual or whether it's another platform, we'll often teach them how to use that platform effectively.
That's awesome. One of the tips that I got, I don't know if you've read the book Clockwork by Mike McCalloway. Awesome book. You would love it, by the way. You'd soak it up. And for you, it'd probably be more confirmation and review. For me, it was just like revolutionary, mind-blowing stuff. But in that book, one of the greatest tips that I got from that book was in developing your SOPs was that people always have this, I don't have time to type it out and write it out. And he says, that's true, but everybody has time to hit record on their phone. And if all they do is they just have like an office tripod with a phone, and then when they go to do a task, they just set it up behind their shoulder, and then they just narrate what they're doing as they're typing it or doing the thing, and the thing's recording it over the camera. They at least have a rough and dirty version of an SOP, and then they can hand that off to an editor to go through and transcribe it and create into the actual SOP. I thought that was like one of the coolest little things. So for the people watching,
is the Otter software, which will transcribe it for you.
I love Otter. Yeah, I love it. I love that software. Honestly, I tried that out for like the free trial for a week or whatever. I think I made it one day, and I bought the annual subscription thing. I thought, this is the best system ever. I use it for everything now. Even on my mentoring sessions, I just record all the things and I just send them the transcripts. I absolutely love it. By the way, if you haven't yet checked out, you'll love this one then, Lisa. Now we're geeking out on SOP systems. If you haven't, have you checked out Fathom?
Fathom? No, I've not come across
Fathom.
Ooh.
Yeah, Fathom is a third part. I'll send you a link to it. I think it's still free at this point in time. They're a startup, and so they're just acquiring customers right now, and they're letting it for free. So what Fathom does is Fathom integrates as a third-party software with Zoom, and it does one step better than Otter, which I still think Otter is better for transcription than Fathom. But here's what Fathom does. Fathom records the video just like you would with a Zoom call, but it separates every single person who's on the call, color codes them, transcribes all of their message, and then it creates this library of like bookmark tabs to where you can just skip ahead. And it also has this really cool function where you can have like all of the participants' names if you want to in this little window, or you can have things like key ideas, commitments. Like when I do my meetings with Chad and with Dan, we record it on Fathom, and it says commitments for Chad, commitments for Dan, commitments for Topher. And when we start talking, I just click the button and it automatically uses AI to go back to the start of that conversation, records that piece, transcribes it, and then at the end of the meeting, we have our summary. You will love
Well, I'll
Fathom.
tell you why I love what
Check
you've just described is because when we build out the customer journeys and we literally walk through, we have 3 phases. We have before they're a client, whilst you're converting them to a client, and after they're a client. And then we have 3 stages within each of those 3 phases. So there's 9 in each, going from who you're targeting and where you're targeting through the whole journey through the sales process, and then the delivery, and then the upsell, and then the getting reviews, testimonials, and referrals. So that's how we build the customer journey. But what we then do is, whilst we're building it, we're going, right, what are you already doing? What could you be doing? And then at the end we go, right, where is your highest ROI on either saving time or increasing revenue? And then we build an action plan specifically for the first thing, because we're a great believer in working on one thing at a time and not splitting focus. So we then build an action plan off the back of the customer journey mapping or a scoping. We're doing one very shortly to help a company scope out what software they need to run through the whole manufacturing process of their business. So that will be slightly different kind of customer journey, because that's down to the employees and how they need to interact with the systems and operations in order to be most efficient. But so what you're saying with Fathom of the action plan and the action points and having that, I really like that a lot.
You'll love it. It kind of automates that stuff for you. So yeah, check out Fathom. If it's not still free, send me an email and I'll send you a link. I'm actually on their, I was one of their early adopters. I signed on real quick, and they've actually, I'm on like their advisory board. So I give them feedback on what services I like and what I don't. And I'm having direct communication with their CEO on feedback for the services they come up with. So if for whatever reason there's a charge now, send me an email, and I think I have links for free.
Please,
on it. But
send that over to me.
All right. I will, yeah. By now, I'm sure there's got to be a couple people watching this podcast or listening to this podcast going, Lisa is on it. So if anybody who is watching or listening to this would like to learn a little bit more about Lisa Gatto, you can go to thebusinesscatalyst.co.uk. We'll put that website up on the screen as well. It's called The Business. Is it The Business Catalyst? I want to make sure I get that correct. It's thebusinesscatalyst.co.uk.
That's the one. The Business Catalyst.
Say it again.
Thebusinesscatalyst.co.uk.
Got it. Okay, I did get it right. Although I think the last time I may have just said .com out of habit, but I know it's .co.uk. So we'll make sure we have that up on there. What? Yes. All right. I'm going to see you in a very short while, like in about 6 weeks, for the Ultimate Entrepreneur Competition. What are you going to be doing differently this time that you didn't do last time? I mean, you know that your numbers are wickedly impressive. Oh, by the way, actually, before we talk about that, you've actually, because I want to make sure that people listening or watching also know this as well. You have, since the last time we spoke, I think you've actually started to establish a really cool niche market that came out of the COVID aspect. I want you to talk a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people, that they find niche identification to be this mysterious thing, but it's really not. It's really just an evaluation of your current base to find out if they match some criteria. So talk a little bit about that. I think it's really
I'm coaching other Keep partners all the time on niching, and it's very difficult when you do something.
Keep, by the way, is a CRM system. It used to, Keep, for those of you who don't know, is a CRM system. It used to be called Infusionsoft. They've rebranded under the name Keep, and it's a very sophisticated CRM. Yeah, keep going. So when you're working with clients on
Keep is the best in class CRM and sales and marketing automation platform, and I've been in love with it since about 2012. And I am currently their most valuable partner in the EMEA UK territory. So that's my thing. No flies on me. Nice. So that's my thing. That's my bag. And I've actually just got back from Arizona from hanging out with a load of the partners as well, which was so fun. They're like family. So as far
Oh, did you have fun? Did you play football in their
No, we didn't. We
headquarters?
weren't at headquarters. We were in
Did you just throw the ball
Scottsdale
around?
in a really lovely resort for
Oh,
3 days before I headed over to Tennessee. So, as far as what happens is when you have a type of business like coaching or consulting or what we do, which can serve so many people and create such an impact, it's very tricky to get into the mindset of working just with one group of people. But there is such value in that, of bringing that focus. And during COVID, what we discovered was that our dental clients, so we have a number of bricks and mortar appointment-based business owners. We have some that are spas, hairdressers, whatever, but we had dentists and orthodontists who were not subject to lockdown. The other thing about them is that orthodontists specifically over general dentists also have a high ticket item, meaning that the minimum that you're going to pay a dentist is a couple of £1,000 or dollars to get an implant or half a mouth or whatever it might be. So as far as them being the right client for us, the ideal client to afford our services, they were absolutely perfect for us. Plus what we found is that a lot of orthodontic practice owners have very much a business owner and entrepreneurial mindset, which really worked for us as well.
True.
You know,
Yes.
I almost went, I used to own a trades company, and I also very nearly went into a trades niche. And I'm like, hang on a minute. Tradesmen never have enough time, and they're
Very
really
recession.
bad adopters of technology. This is not a good niche for me, even though on paper they might tick the boxes.
Right, yeah.
So we have our thing is the idea.
Yeah, they have the need, but do they have the appreciation?
Yeah, they have the need, but they absolutely are not the right ideal client for us on so many other levels. So we identified this. So our thing being the ideal customer journey. We then developed what is now the ideal patient journey. We've actually got the idealpatientjourney.com as the page specifically for the orthodontists, where we have developed a niche where we provide all of the software that they require to give an absolutely fantastic experience for their patients and for their staff who are following up on leads. We found that orthodontists basically never had enough confidence in their staff that they were following up on leads on time or giving the right outcome, and people were basically falling through the cracks, not being followed up on, whether it was a lead or even at a quoting stage. So we've built a whole very robust system from lead capture all the way through that new inquiry process into the quoting, into the sales pipeline, into the appointment reminders, fulfillment, making sure that every patient has a live appointment, and then into reviews, testimonials, Google reviews, that kind of thing. So that's our ideal patient journey.
Excellent. And the important thing there, the important thing is that that niche was in your client base all along, right? It was just kind of sitting there, kind of silently waiting for almost you guys to go, wait a minute, hang on. Let's develop a business model that's recession-proof, pandemic-proof, and it was already there. And I think for the people watching or listening to this podcast, it's worthy sitting down, pausing, stopping what you're doing, and just looking at your customer base to say, where's our ideal niche? It's got to be in here somewhere. And I think it's just a great example. All right, let's get back to the ultimate entrepreneur, and then we'll wrap up here. What are you going to be doing differently this year that you didn't do last year? In your competition, because you want to make sure that you come in with some new, fresh ideas. And I'm hoping you talk about a niche. By the way, I really hope that's in your presentation, because that's a great story.
I'm hoping this isn't going to be broadcast before my talks. I don't want to be giving my competitors any ideas about what the framework of my talk's going to be like so far. So feel free to broadcast this post event.
It's going live tomorrow. This will be out before the competition. Absolutely. So you're going to keep your cards close and not even share anything.
I just want to keep my cards close to my chest, for the part 2, Lisa's Revenge, coming back in. I mean, obviously we've had a spectacular year again, which has been down to the productization, because with the ideal patient journey, that's not one size fits all. But whereas we're building ideal customer journeys, which are very unique and bespoke for a lot of our clients, when it comes to the appointment-based bricks and mortar businesses, that patient journey pretty much is a solid framework that we do a little bit of tweaking to. So as far as being able to roll that out in a more productized way, that has definitely been a big part of our success this year, as well as the future plans for what we're going to be doing for coaches, consultants, and online e-learning businesses by the end of the year, which is another productized model, which is going to be giving us a minimum of 2 products with multi-six-figure profits by the end of the year, basically. So that's what we're doing. For me, it's all about what does it mean to be the ultimate entrepreneur, not what I'm doing in my business, but also how I'm showing up as the person that needs to be a success in that.
That needs to be in the pitch for sure. You know what I absolutely admire about you, Lisa, is that you have this, I don't even want to call it a competitive spirit. You have like a warrior spirit where, because I remember this last year, I mean, you were in it to win it. When other people were kind of apologetic about it, going, oh, I'm just here and, it's the honor. You were like, no, man, I'm going for this. And I absolutely love that about you. And I can't wait to run into you again at the Ultimate Entrepreneur Competition. That's going to be June 21st and 22nd. So. Did I get that right? Or is it 22nd? Yeah.
I believe so, yeah. And for me, there's no point showing up unless we're showing up, right?
Absolutely. June 21st, 22nd, unless I'm wrong, and I'll have the correct dates on the screen, but I'm pretty sure it's June 21st and 22nd. Lisa, best of luck in the competition. I can't wait to see you again. We're going to get to hang out and have fun. I'll be there emceeing the event as well. So until then, take care. Have a wonderful time with your business. It sounds like you're having a blast. Again, for those of you interested in checking a little bit more about Lisa Catto and her product, it is thebusinesscatalyst.co.uk. Check it out. Check her out. She's got some great services to help automate the customer journey. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
There you have it. That's Lisa Catto. She's going to be a fierce competitor this year at the Ultimate Entrepreneur Competition coming up at the Success Mastermind, June 21st and 22nd of 2022. A lot of twos in there. Not only are we going to have the competition, but we also have 2 special guest speakers coming out because the theme of this mastermind is scaling up. And so we have Nigel Shanahan and Simon Inchley. Now, Nigel exited his business for a high 8-figure sum. He's going to be there to share with you how he did that. And Simon is the CEO of Gresham LLP. They are a PE firm that specializes in rapid growth companies. You're definitely going to want to come, sharpen your pencils, and take a lot of notes when these 2 gentlemen have their wisdom to share. Not only that, by the way, we also have Dan Bradbury, the founder of Dan Bradbury Companies, and he's going to be there to share with you his strategy on how he has acquired several companies and grown his to rapid proportion as well. So I'll be there emceeing the event. I look forward to seeing you at the Ultimate Entrepreneur Competition inside the Success Mastermind, June 21st and 22nd. Until then, let's all try a little harder to be a little better.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. 3 things you need to do now. Number 1, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you do not miss an episode. Also, get on over to Amazon to get a copy of my latest book, Turnover is Vanity, Profit is Sanity, 9.5 steps to improving your profits and cash flow. Also, join our Facebook group, the Turnover is Vanity, Profit is Sanity community, to connect with other business owners.